All right, here we go. We're off and running. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Sr. It is a beautiful Wednesday, September 17th. Eagles heading into Week 3 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams that I think is the marquee game across the NFL this week. And there's, of course, as always, so much to talk about. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Producer Chip on the ones and twos and all of the real ones hanging out here with us. Here's everything that's coming up here on the show. I'm going to go through the changes that I think the Philadelphia Eagles have to make on the offensive side of the ball to just be better there, generate more explosive plays, and to really put the talent on the offensive side of the ball in a position to make plays and have success. Also, some Eagles fans getting some good news going into Week 2 because I think Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo are understanding of the fact that this offense needs to get better. But keep in mind, it's still early, plenty of season left. And then we're also going to do a mailbag. I want to hear from all of you. I know that you know ball. Show me that you know ball. And let's chop it up to talk some birds. How do you get involved? It's very easy. Use the hashtag Eagles within your comment or send in a super chat, and then we'll feature you on our mailbag. Some of the content that we've done so far this week, I think it's been awesome because I think what we do here on Eagles Now is very special. So in case you've missed it or in case you're new to the channel and you're not really sure what we do, I listed the reasons on Monday why I thought that win over the Chiefs was better than I originally thought. That video is up on the channel. A lot of Eagles fans want offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo fired, and so I did a video on that. And obviously, I understand the concerns and the frustrations that a lot of fans have, but also I listed the reasons for why we can't get overly panicky just yet. Yesterday, Eagles versus Rams preview. Just a star-studded matchup in Week 3 at the link for the Birds. And then a video yesterday, how Howie Roseman hitting on the first two picks in the last two drafts coming off of the 2023 season, where the Eagles had an awful defensive campaign, has really changed everything for this organization. And the early returns of how good Andrew Makuba and Jahad Campbell have been the first 2 weeks of the year really changes the potential of this Eagles defense here in 2025 and beyond. A programming reminder, myself and Chip, we will be live once again for our Eagles-Rams watch party on Sunday. It's the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. So be sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications, and join us. We're going to have Super Chat giveaways, a pregame show, a postgame show. We're doing it all here on the channel. Speaking of that mailbag, get your questions in right now. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a Super Chat. That's hashtag Eagles or send in a Super Chat. Neon Rips, I see you down in the comment section. What week is Tampa? That is Week 4. Next week for Philadelphia. Speaking of Super Chats as well, this is how all of the channels inside the NFC East have done during their live shows this week going into Week 3. Our job here on Eagles Now, what I want to accomplish, I want to beat the Commanders Report. They got $105 in Super Chats earlier this week. Giants Now at 153. Cowboys Report at 175. Can we take down the other teams inside the division here at Chat Sports? We really appreciate your support. All right, nearly 200 people watching live, 43 likes. Be a real one. I need you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream, the more people who hang out, and the more fun that we will have. So everybody watching right now, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. All right, coming up to start off our show, the changes the Eagles have to make on offense going into Week 3 to fully tap into their potential. Let's get the show underway right now. And as always, go Birds. Yo, what's going on? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up on the show, the changes that the Philadelphia Eagles need to make on the offensive side of the football going into Week 3 to get this offense on track. And you start off with this, right? Let's take a gander at how the Eagles stack up on both sides of the ball. Philadelphia 2-0, undefeated to start the year. On defense, they've been a lot further along than on the offensive side of the football. That might surprise some people because Philadelphia has so many new faces and young players playing on defense, whereas this offense that won the Super Bowl last year does return 10 of 11 starters from the 2024 team. But as we know, Kevin Patullo, new offensive coordinator, he's never called plays before in his NFL coaching career. He's replacing Kellen Moore, who, as the season progressed last year, made adjustments and did a really good job of catering the offense to the respective skill sets of the players and the personnel on the offensive side of the ball. And the Eagles were able to, in turn, find their identity, which was running the ball. And that was a little bit surprising for Kellen Moore because going into last year when he was an OC for either the Chargers or the Cowboys, his offenses were very pass happy. And so on offense to start the year, Philadelphia ranks 16th in points per game at 22, 29th in yards per game at 259, 30th in yards per play, 4.3. Of course, they're lacking the explosive plays. They are number 3 on third downs, 48.1%. Jalen Hurts on third downs and against the blitz. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. And what you also love to see, third down success in the red zone. Anytime the Eagles have gotten inside the 20, they've scored a touchdown on every red zone trip. On defense, Philadelphia has only given up 7 points after recess the first 2 games of the year against Dallas and Kansas City. Philadelphia 12th in points per game, led by Vic Fangio's unit. 9th in yards per game, 18th in yards per play. Have to get better on third downs. Can't get off the field there. 25th among the 32 teams. And then red zone about middle of the pack at 17th, a 60% red zone touchdown scoring percentage for the opposition. And as we know, the issues on offense for Philadelphia so far, I have 4 of them that have really bothered me that we can pinpoint here. A lack of explosive plays. Those are plays of 10-plus yards. The pass game has been lacking. The offense in general has been vanilla. And then the scheme, the alignments, the play calls, they've been predictable. And it's everything from the run game not being too exotic and being predictable. It's everything from the route trees for the wide receivers on this Eagles team being easy to defend. I would just like Philadelphia, Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, to get a little bit more exotic and a little bit more creative. But look, this kind of has been a Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts thing. They've been the constants here since 2021 when these issues have kind of persisted or at least happened at times. The offensive coordinators have been new, but for the most part, the offenses have looked pretty much the same. So I don't think it's going to change drastically, but I do think there are some changes that the Eagles need to make on offense, and we'll get into those here on the show. I do want everybody to please remember what happened last year with the Eagles and the fact that they won the Super Bowl last year, dominated Kansas City, and the fact that over their last 19 games, they are 18-1. Winningest team in football has led to people forgetting that early last season, this offense struggled. It was a pretty mid-unit, and they really didn't find their groove until about week 7, week 8. Now, in week 1, yes, they put up 34 points against the Green Bay Packers. That was a quality win in Brazil, but the Eagles turned it over 3 times in that game. In week 2, the Eagles only mustered 21 points, and they choked, lost late, and collapsed against the Atlanta Falcons. 22-21, the final score there. In week 3, the Eagles only scored 15 points against the Saints in that low-scoring affair, and they really had to pull that game out late. Week 4, listless loss on both sides of the pill. 33-16, they got dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that loss especially hurt at the time because the season prior in the wild card round, Philly got shellacked by Tampa Bay. Eagles had their bye week in week 5. It came at a good time because the pressure was mounting on Nick Sirianni and this ball club, and so they were able to get a little bit of a breather. But in week 16, they come out of it. They only scored 20 points against the Browns. That game came down to the wire. Remember, Jalen Hurts threw that long ball on 4th down to A.J. Brown late to ice it. Then in week 7 and in week 8, Eagles beat the Giants on the road 28-3. Then they beat the Bengals 37-17. That's when the offense really started to establish and find an identity. And for the rest of the year, the offense was very good for the most part. Also, this time last year, Jalen Hurts had thrown 3 interceptions and lost a fumble. He had an expected completion percentage of 60.7%. He ranked 30th in the NFL with expected completion percentage due to a lot of low percentage throws. What you'll take to start the year this year is that the turnovers are down. Yes, he hasn't thrown a touchdown, but he's run for multiple. You have more high percentage throws. He's been good against the blitz. He's fared very well on third down. And all of those categories and statistics and trends go a long way in determining wins and losses. But we all know that with Kevin Patullo calling the plays, the Brian Johnson PTSD that we have from 2023, both internal promotions, replacing offensive coordinators who did great things the year before them, that with this much talent, the Eagles have to be better on offense. And Nick Sirianni talked about this earlier this week during his press conference and on 94 WIP. It's very well documented that the Eagles need to generate and manufacture more explosive plays, especially through the air, right? The Eagles have 3 pass plays of 10-plus yards. Jalen Hurts against Kansas City only completed 1 of 4 passes that traveled 10-plus yards. That was the deep shot to DeVonta Smith, all-out blitz on a 3rd and 10 to set up a huge score in that game. In 2022, for context, the Eagles led the NFL with 169 explosive plays with an average of 9.9 of them per game. Now, the schedule that year was a lot easier than it's been the last 2 years, but even last year, the Eagles did manufacture a lot of explosive plays, but they were mostly on the ground, not through the air, because Saquon Barkley is such a home run threat. But these struggles also are nothing new to this Eagles team. In weeks 1 and 2 here in 2025, Hurts is 34 of 45, 75.6% completion rate for 253 yards, 5.62 yards per attempt. Remember last year when A.J. Brown was asked in the locker room what the biggest issue with the Eagles offense is, and he said passing? That was after weeks 13 and 14, where Hurts was 25 of 40, completion percentage of 62.5%, so down 13 points for 226 yards, also down, and the yards per attempt about the same. The Eagles made the adjustments then to unlock the offense. I think the Eagles can make the adjustments now to unlock the offense. And so that brings me to the purpose of today's show. So, Chase, what can the Eagles do to get this offense moving, going up against a Rams defense that is one of the best defenses in the National Football League? I think it starts here for Philadelphia. The Eagles have to get A.J. Brown going. We're talking about one of the top wide receivers in football, a generational player, and good things happen when the Eagles throw A.J. the rock. And so far, up until this point, his routes have been predictable. They have been easy to defend. And Jalen Hurts hasn't really given him opportunities to make a lot of plays, and he hasn't pulled the trigger on other throws or routes when A.J. potentially has been open. There's just no reason why a player of this caliber should have 6 catches for 35 yards through 2 games. And A.J. Brown's impact since the trade in 2022 has been profound. He's been an all-pro every year that he's been an Eagle. The Eagles' points per game when A.J. Brown has played and been on the field healthy since acquiring him in 2022, 27.7 points per game. The Eagles are also, this was going into 2025, 38-10 with A.J. So now they are 40-10 with A.J. Brown. Without A.J. Brown, the points per game goes down from 27.7 to 16.2, and the record a losing one, 2-3, including that playoff loss to the Bucs in that blowout. And for everybody trying to stir up controversy and drum up trade buzz for A.J. Brown, the trade talk that I'm seeing from the likes of Colin Cowherd is absurd. It's not realistic. It's also literally impossible. The dead cap hit that the Eagles would inherit if they traded away A.J. Brown would be franchise sinking. It would make no sense financially to trade him away. And for this Eagles offense, I just showed you the win-loss record. They are 40-10 when he plays. Why would you get rid of a player like this? What you have to do is keep him happy and just target him because he's able to get open. And in week 2, he had the best separation among any wideout in the NFL. So you look at what he's done in his Eagles career. I know that over the last calendar year and change, Jalen Hurts among consistent starters has been among the bottom of the barrel as far as passing attempts. And people like to say the Eagles don't target A.J. Brown enough. He has to be unhappy. He was with a run-heavy team with Tennessee. Now he's on a run-heavy team with Philadelphia. Well, how do you explain this production then? There has been no wide receiver in the history of this organization who's been able to put up this production 3 consecutive years, which is why already 4 seasons into him being an Eagle, I think he might be the best wide receiver in franchise history. I mean, in 2022, 88 grabs, nearly 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. 2023, 106 catches, and once again, over 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns. Last year, he missed, 3 or 4 games with a hamstring injury? He still went over 1,000 yards and had 7 touchdowns. It's not like he's not getting targeted, and this is why I believe at some point, he's going to kick it into gear, and this Eagles passing offense is going to kick it into gear. But again, it just comes down to getting him involved, finding ways to get creative with getting him the football. And it starts, I think, partially with his average depth of target. And so through 2 games, he's run a lot of short in-breaking routes. And his average depth of target the first 2 games, 7.4 yards. The average depth of target in his previous 6 years, 11.9. We are talking about a 4.5-yard difference there. He's also averaging 0.8 yards after the catch on his 6 catches this year. He's averaged 5.6 yards after the catch in his entire career. And so for the Eagles, this is how Philadelphia can get A.J. Brown going. He has 6 catches through 2 games. It's not sustainable if the Eagles want to be successful on offense in 2025. He is dominant on slants and in-breakers, especially when he's able to put his foot in the dirt, cut it to the outside, and pick up yards after the catch. He's run a lot of those routes. So obviously you want to diversify his route tree, but you want to continue to go with what has worked. Also, how about the Eagles scheme up some long balls, right? With all of the weapons on offense, you should be able to scheme up A.J. Brown with a one-on-one where he can take the top off of the defense and use his size to come down with 50-50 balls because he's so great at that. And with his baseball player background, he tracks it so well. He's also great with body control. So throw him some back shoulder balls. This is on Jalen Hurts to throw it to him maybe when A.J. Brown is not open. That's what Tanner McKee does so well. And if we're talking about A.J. not having opportunities to create after the catch, throw him a bubble screen from time to time. And also be less predictable with pre-snap motion. Get creative there. And that comes down to finding ways to scheme him open so that he can make an impact on the game. So what do you think? Will A.J. Brown go off against the Rams on Sunday? I want you to type yes or no. Simple question, simple answer. This Rams defense is legit. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section right now. A lot more to get to here. How the Eagles can continue to fix their offense and get it back on track. But first, this episode of Philadelphia Eagles Now, brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, right? But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks where it's good to be right. It's very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports all across America. Prize Picks puts their users first. All withdrawals fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits right into your account. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. What we like going up against the Rams, speaking of A.J. Brown, he has to pop off, right? He's also had success against Los Angeles. More than 72.5 receiving yards. Puka Nacua, Rams are going to throw it to him a lot in between the numbers and between the hashes. More than 84.5 receiving yards. He also has Devontae Adams alongside him. And then the special this week, Patrick Mahomes more than a half passing yard. New users, play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups. This is real money sports action made easy. Download the app, use the code CLNS. That's code CLNS. After you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 in lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, we move forward here on the show. I alluded to this earlier, but I'm about to give you an example with a chart here. Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. Can we diversify the route tree for DeVonta Smith? On a lot of other teams across the NFL, he would be a number 1 wide receiver. He's probably the best number 2 wide receiver in the game. Every year he's been with the Eagles, he's been able to produce as a number 2. And in 2021, when he was a number 1, set the franchise record for receiving yards for a rookie. With DeVonta Smith, he can line up inside. He can line up outside. And with his footwork, he is one of the filthiest route runners in the NFL. But this is his route tree against the Kansas City Chiefs. You have some verticals on the left side. You've got the deep shot where he caught that 3rd and 10 all-out blitz. Beautiful ball from Jalen Hurts to give him an opportunity to make a play. And then he's got a couple of simple out routes. And this is a theme that we're going to talk about here in a moment. Can we target the middle area of the field, especially a player like DeVonta Smith, who's so good at picking up yards after the catch? And so A.J. Brown, 6 catches so far this year. Crazy for how dominant and great of a player he is. DeVonta Smith, not much better. 7 catches for 69 yards. Diversify his route tree, scheme him open, and he will make good things happen. And then to that point that I alluded to here, I know that Jalen Hurts is a shorter quarterback. And due to the traffic that sometimes is in front of him, when the pocket gets muddied up or there are some big bodies in front of him, he doesn't always see the middle area of the field all that well. He throws a great long ball, but usually it is toward the boundary, toward the sideline, and he doesn't always target the hashes or in between the numbers. But there are ways that you can manufacture plays across the middle of the field. Crossers, either shallow or deep crossers. You can run some pick routes and some rub routes. You can throw some quick hitters. You can throw some developing plays. Think about the weapons that you have. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert when he comes back. Shoot, Saquon Barkley can run routes and catch balls in between the numbers. And what I want the Eagles to do is press the defense. Make them cover every blade of grass, vertically, all 3 levels, and from sideline to sideline. And if you spread things out and you start targeting all areas of the field, it's going to open up the pass game, of course, make you more difficult to defend. What is it also going to do? Teams aren't going to be able as much to stack the box, and that can open up running lanes for Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. So week 1 against the Cowboys, you look at Jalen Hurts' passing chart, and there was the lone long pass to Jahan Dotson. 51 yards, a beautiful throw. And that was a throw that did happen right around the hashes. And you do see how Hurts was able to throw over the middle. And there were some routes and some receptions that occurred over the middle area of the field. And because of that, Jalen Hurts had a pretty solid game. The completion percentage over expected was plus 15.3%. And so he was finding a lot of tight windows as well. And the offense just moved a lot better. A lot of people lose sight of the fact that the Eagles had the ball 3 times in the first half. They scored 3 touchdowns on those 3 drives. Then the weather delay hit, and it really ruined the offensive flow for Philadelphia, but also Dallas. They didn't score a point after halftime, after they scored on their first 4 drives of the game. But then against Kansas City, part of this was the Chiefs' game plan, right? Because they loaded the box, and they blitzed Jalen Hurts and pressured him on more than 60% of his dropbacks. But all of the throws here to the outside. And this is when the offense can become very predictable. Also a lack of long balls here for Jalen Hurts. And so I think Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, and Jalen Hurts can just do a better job of scheming things up better. And then lastly, the Eagles have an opportunity to really get the ground game going against the Los Angeles Rams. You know who's been the Rams' daddy of late? Saquon Barkley. In 2024, Saquon Barkley was the Rams' daddy. He owned them. You look back to Week 12, historic performance for Saquon on Sunday Night Football at SoFi Stadium. The Eagles won that game 37-20. Saquon Barkley, 255 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He also became the first player since Maurice Jones-Drew in 2009 to have 2 rushing touchdowns of 70-plus yards. He had over 300 all-purpose yards. So by himself, he accounted for more than 300 all-purpose yards among the Eagles' 481 yards of total offense. Then he doubled down and did it again in the divisional round. Eagles won that game 28-22, and Saquon once again over 2 Bills on the ground. He went over Benji Franks twice against the Rams in 2 games. 26 totes, 205 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. Back in Week 12, he was at over 9 yards per carry. And his 2 touchdowns, 78 and 62 yards. So Saquon gave the Eagles a lot of explosive plays against the Rams last year. All 4 of his touchdowns, 60-plus yards. And another thing here is that the Eagles' offense has become predictable with their tendencies and their scheme and player alignment, right? And Eagles coach Nick Sirianni last week said you have no tendencies going into game 1. Well, through 2 games, they have a tendency to run when the Eagles are under center 96% of the time, pistol 91.3% of the time, shotgun 33.8% of the time. All other teams across the NFL, not as predictable. They're running under center 69.5% of the time. That's nearly a 30% difference. Out of the pistol, 62.7%. Again, nearly a 30-point difference. And then out of the shotgun, still a difference there, 26.9%. So that is how the Philadelphia Eagles can fix their offense, cater to their supremely talented players, and get this offense back on track. And that's why you subscribe to the channel. Did you get that analysis anywhere else? I don't think so. All right. Good audience here so far today. Appreciate everybody for being here. Cheryl, Trey Lasado, Dennis Designs, Gawado, Rusty Perry, Nasser, Alonzo, all in the building. They're all a part of the recent commenter club.
Yes, sir.
I saw David Ross in there as well. John Riddick, don't call him Lewis. What's up, brother? Earth, tuned in from Earth, saying go Birds. My man Andrew Nathan. Always enjoy the Twitter back and forths. Answering that question here, will A.J. Brown go off against the Rams on Sunday? A lot of yeses. All right, Chip, how we doing with the mailbag?
Right now, it is the Andrew Nathan show for our mailbag questions. We have 6 questions right now. 4 of them are from Andrew Nathan. Shout out Gene Holcomb, Trey Lasado as well. Let's get some more questions in here, man.
Yeah.
I love Andrew Nathan, but the entire mailbag can't just be only his questions.
Today's Philadelphia Eagles Now brought to you by Andrew Nathan. So get those questions in so that we can do our mailbag. Use the hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. You can ask me about Jalen Carter not being in shape, according to Vic Fangio. You can ask me about free agent additions. You can ask me about the schedule, this Week 3 game against the Rams. Will Howie Roseman make another move? Get those questions in. Let's talk some Eagles football because that's what we do. Also, let's get the super chats going. We cannot get embarrassed by the other 3 teams inside the NFC East here at Chat Sports. When they went live earlier this week, Cowboys report $175 in super chats. Giants now $153. Commanders report $105. You know what we have right now? A goose egg. It can't happen because we run the NFC East on the field and here at Chat Sports.
Bless you.
All right, segment number 2. Thank you. I'm going to explain why Eagles fans should be excited getting some encouraging news with what Kevin Patullo said about this offense, but also we're going to do a film study. Because what if I told you that this Eagles offense is so close to breaking out? That's coming up here next, segment number 2, and then segment number 3 will be our mailbag.
Shout out to Cheryl. Shout out to Gene. Getting some questions in. Lion
Fighter, LFX.
Let's go. Some good questions. Good stuff. Keep getting them in.
Yes, sir. All right, segment number 2. Here we go. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. As always, thank you so much for supporting the show. There are so many great content options out there, whether it be on the radio, television, digitally, on YouTube, podcasts. So anytime you decide to hang out here with us, I can't thank you enough for your continued support of the show. And coming up, we're going to do a film study. We're going to take a look at some offensive trends for Philadelphia because Eagles fans going into this huge Week 3 game against the Rams, getting some encouraging news with this offense and how they are so close to breaking out. What do I mean by that? We'll take a look at the tape coming up here in just a moment. I do want to say thank you again to all of the real ones. I know I just mentioned it, but you look at our channel growth. And this is over the last couple of months, right? But it's also over the last couple of years. Over the calendar year, 365, no channel here at Chat Sports in our digital sports network empire has picked up more subs than this channel. And for a guy who grew up in Westchester, went to Temple, who's been rooting on this team since 4 years old, I dreamed as a kid of covering the Philadelphia Eagles. To do it professionally, in front of an audience that spans every pocket of America and worldwide, and to reach millions and millions of people every single month. I wake up every single day feeling blessed, and every day I can't wait to talk Eagles. And so you look at the subscribers that we picked up over the last couple of months. In July, 1,303 subscribers, our slowest month as far as content creation goes because that's the lone dead month, really, of the NFL calendar. New subs in August, more than 2,000. Here we are, about the middle portion of September, and we've already gained nearly 3,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now. And what we do, give you daily Philadelphia Eagles shows. Become a real one today and hit that sub button. What we know with the Philadelphia Eagles 2 games into the year, heading into Week 3 against the Rams, is that this Eagles offense has been boring. It has been vanilla. It has been predictable. And they are struggling to start the year. As I always like to say, context is very important. And I always try to find reasons behind trends, behind struggles, behind what the Eagles do well, what they don't do well. And there has been a pretty consistent theme under Nick Sirianni since 2021 that the Eagles have really valued. And we could talk about how Kevin Patullo is struggling. Some fans already want him fired. Remember this time last year, people were calling for the head of Kellen Moore. Brian Johnson, he was very disappointing as an OC because he was looked at as a star assistant coach across the NFL. There's been a constant here. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have been the constants, right? Offensive coordinators have not been. Shane Steichen in 2021 and 2022, Brian Johnson in 2023, Kellen Moore in 2024, Kevin Patullo in 2025. But you think about the Eagles' offensive identity and what they've wanted to do under Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. The Eagles as an organization are all about turnover avoidance. And I do take stock in that. It's very important because this is a statistical fact. When you win the turnover battle in the NFL, you win about 80% of your games. And under Nick Sirianni, when the Eagles have won the turnover battle, they're even better. They're nearly impossible to beat. Under Sirianni since 2021, the Eagles are 36-2 when they win the turnover margin. That's astounding. They are 8-7 when the turnover margin is even, and they are 12-14 when they lose the turnover margin. And so part of the reason why this Eagles offense has been vanilla, it's been plain, is because the Eagles don't like to get overly aggressive. And I can understand why that frustrates some people, right? Especially in this fantasy football world that we're living in. It's a multi-million-dollar industry in this betting space that has really taken off of late, in this social media era where all of these clips and numbers go viral. You know what I care about for quarterbacks? It's quarterbacks winning games. You don't always have to put up video game-like numbers. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, they have put up huge, crazy, insane video game-like numbers. Other than Patrick Mahomes, how many Super Bowls do those quarterbacks have? None. And those quarterbacks have been prone to turning the football over. And so that is part of the reason why the Eagles have that offensive philosophy. They know that they're built so well in the trenches that they can wear the opposition down throughout the course of a 60-minute game. And as I always like to say too, they're like a boa constrictor, right? With how physical of a brand of football they play and how talented they are, the level of coaching that they have, the talent on the roster, they strangle the opponent, and over the course of a game, they just suffocate you. And they know that if they don't turn the football over and they play clean and it's late, they're going to make the plays late to win, and they're going to have a great chance of winning. 36-2 when they win the turnover margin. But that brings me to my next point too. This Eagles offense, yeah, it hasn't been great. Hasn't been necessarily fun to watch the first 2 games of the year, and it's puzzling how that can happen with this much talent. But what if I told you this Eagles offense is getting very close to breaking out, and this Eagles offense, which has lacked explosive plays, is getting closer and closer to being able to accumulate explosive plays? Let's take a look at the tape here as I promised. I never lie to the people. This was the first play of the game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Ball spotted at the 30-plus yard line. A.J. Brown in motion. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. To the left of Jordan Mailata here is Grant Calcaterra. Not a good blocking tight end, but the Eagles were without Dallas Goedert. On the other side of the formation, to the right, flanking Lane Johnson in the backfield is Kylen Granson. And so A.J. Brown is in motion here from left to right, and he's going to join the near side of DeVonta Smith, and he's going to run a route out of the slot. Jalen Hurts takes the snap here, and you can see with his eyes, he is looking at A.J. Brown. And the number one read here is A.J. Brown. But what happens in front of Jalen Hurts? Grant Calcaterra completely whiffed on his block, and you see the defender already got past him in a blink. And then Kylen Granson, who was supposed to come across the formation kind of like a backside, crackside block, whiffs. And so the protection breaks down. Jalen Hurts then has to step up. He then fumbles. But if the protection held up, look at A.J. Brown right here. A.J. Brown is wide open. Jalen Hurts, all he had to have done, if the protection was able to hold up and give him some time to actually deliver this ball, is throw it somewhere in the neighborhood of A.J. Brown. And against this desperate Chiefs team, with still a very good defense, this could have been a 70-yard touchdown on the opening play of the game. Instead, it got spoiled. It went for a loss. Grant Calcaterra had to recover that fumble, and A.J. Brown's like, are you kidding me? Nothing is going right for me early this year. And in a game where more than 33 million people watched, it was the most viewed Sunday telecast in the history of Fox for an NFL game, the most watched Week 2 game ever. The Eagles nearly started this game off with a straight-up bang. And that would change our thoughts of this Eagles offense. And the perception of this Eagles offense would have flipped on its head if the Eagles were able to hit on that play to start the ball game. Another play that was really big in this game. You take a look here at Jalen Hurts in the shotgun. This is a 2x2 set. Saquon Barkley to his right. DeVonta Smith is the player who we want to focus in on here. And he's lined up in the slot. A.J. Brown toward the boundary here at that X wide receiver spot. Jalen Hurts is going to take the shotgun snap. And because the Chiefs were sending pressure all day long, it changed the Eagles' play calling, and it changed what the Eagles wanted to do on offense because Hurts had to get rid of it very quickly, going up against all of these pressure looks when he was blitzed more than 60% of the time. And so this is a quick developing play where the design is for Hurts to get rid of the ball very fast. He makes an accurate throw to DeVonta Smith right here. And I want everybody to look at all of the real estate, all of the open field right here. And DeVonta Smith is one-on-one with the DB. DeVonta Smith catches this ball as we go to the next slide. And he tries to cut inside right here so that he can take advantage of all this running room and picking up yards after the catch. If DeVonta Smith is able to break this tackle, and he barely got bottled up, it was kind of like a shoestring ankle tackle. Is he scoring a touchdown right here? I think DeVonta Smith is scoring a touchdown right here because there is nobody who is close to DeVonta Smith, especially with the speed that he has. And you have to imagine that right here, A.J. Brown is going to be able to block his man. And so this ball was snapped right around midfield. This was nearly a 70-yard touchdown to start the game. And then a little bit later on, about a 50-yard touchdown that the Eagles narrowly missed out on. And this is trying to scheme players open and scheme up a play in which DeVonta Smith can create after the catch because of where all the other receivers are in spreading out the defense. Now, I alluded to this a little bit ago, but please keep in mind that the Chiefs' game plan impacted the Eagles' play calling, and it impacted their strategy. When the defense is all out blitzing you at all times, you can't call long developing plays. That would be play calling malpractice, and that would be an asinine thought and idea as far as your play calling strategy. And so that's another reason why the Eagles didn't really throw a lot of deep shots. Now, the casuals on Twitter will just go box score hunting, and they'll say, Jalen Hurts threw for 101 yards. You're telling me he's a top 5 quarterback? But they don't actually watch the game. So always ignore them, and always remember that a small percentage of people are on social media, but they just have loud voices. So it makes it seem heavier and greater than that chatter actually is. Now, coming up next, what did Kevin Patullo say about all of this? What he did have to say, I think, is encouraging for some Eagles fans heading into week 3. Let me tell you about this deal, though, thanks to our fine friends at Fanatics. We have sold a bunch of these Eagles Super Bowl shirts. Why? Because they're on sale. A crazy deal right now. Celebrate that Super Bowl 59 championship with these clean-looking tees. They were $38, now on sale for just $26. All you have to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/SB59 shirt. But that deal only applies if you use our exclusive link. Now, here's what Kevin Patullo had to say about this Eagles offense. I think even if you go back to last year and years past, you want the offense to trend in the right direction. And that direction is at the end of the season. That's where you want to peak it out. So really, as long as we continue to go through what we're going through and winning games, finding ways to win, at some point during the year, we'll say, oh, we went through that, and here's how we fix that, and here's how we solve it. So I think it's an important thing that we go through it now rather than later, and we can continue to trend in the right direction. I love that thought process, and I love that type of strategy. How many times have we seen teams peak early, like the Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel? Oh my gosh, the Dolphins scored more than 70 points against the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton. What happens when it gets cold and the Dolphins have to go on the road? They're a soft team, and they peak early, they struggle and fizzle late, and they fall apart. Under Nick Sirianni, 2021, 2022, 2024, they have peaked late, and they have rounded into their best form late in the year when they're getting ready for the NFL playoffs, which is when you want to be playing your best football. And it's kind of like a baseball analogy, right? The Philadelphia Phillies last year had a great record. They sucked for the final couple months of the year. They went into the playoffs cold, zapped. Oftentimes in baseball, those teams that are hot in August and September, they're the ones who go on that October run. Same in football, right? It's really hard, see 2023, to struggle late in the year, then the playoffs come around and you're like, this is when we're going to kick it into gear. Rarely happens that way. And again, last year for this Eagles team, they weren't a good offense until about week 7, week 8. They were very Jekyll and Hyde, up and down, riding the seesaw. Here's also what Kevin Patullo said about the Eagles taking downfield shots, because Jalen Hurts only has 3+ plays of 10+ yards completion-wise. Sometimes in-game, it just doesn't happen. It's definitely something we want to do. It's not something we're avoiding. I know going forward, we have the plan in place. If it comes up, it'll definitely happen. And I want to see the Eagles do this, right? Take advantage of Jalen Hurts' deep ball. The touch, the timing, the anticipation that he throws with on the long ball. I think it's the best deep ball in the NFL. Really is reminiscent of Russell Wilson's moon ball from back in the day. And I think over time we've seen that Jalen Hurts, just a better all-around player than Russell Wilson. But you also have to remember that the Chiefs blitz Jalen Hurts on more than 60% of snaps. You can't have those elongated plays, run play action, try to take shots deep when you're getting blitzed so heavily. And so that's part of the reason why Hurts hasn't been able to throw it long. Now, against the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, it was a little bit different. But Jalen Hurts was able to take advantage of what the defense gave him and use his legs. And he straight up carved up the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't go QB spy, and Hurts was awesome running the ball. And again, in this era where everybody is obsessed with stats, a smart way to play quarterback, Tom Brady would tell you this, take what the defense gives you. And so far to start this year, that's what Hurts has done. And he's been money against the blitz and on third downs. That's how you win ball games, man. It's good quarterbacking. As for intermediate passes, I do think the Eagles can do a better job here, and they can do a better job of targeting the middle area of the field. According to Pro Football Focus, Hurts is the only quarterback in the league, besides Steelers backup Mason Rudolph, who has just 2 dropbacks, who has not attempted an intermediate pass between 10 and 19 yards this year. Now, Jalen Hurts doesn't throw with the ability to layer balls like Aaron Rodgers or Brock Purdy does. They are so good at throwing with touch and layering balls in there. Hurts is a different quarterback. But come on, we're just ignoring 10 to 19 yards. You can scheme things open where you can throw passes to that area of the field. And speaking of Kansas City going blitz heavy, Patullo chalked that up in part to the Chiefs' heavy blitz on Sunday, where Steve Spagnuolo blitzed Hurts on 64% of his dropbacks, according to Next Gen Stats. That was the highest single game rate in Steve Spagnuolo's history in Kansas City since he was hired in 2019. Hurts got the ball out quickly, again, taking what the defense gives you. 2.1 seconds on average to nearby targets, aside from the deep shot to DeVonta Smith, which came against a 0 blitz. The data, the trends, the film, we just went through it all. It doesn't lie. And you come away from all of that saying the Eagles' offense can be better. There is room to grow. There is time to grow. But also, within the constraints of this conversation, right, Jalen Hurts has played pretty damn well if you consider the circumstances and aren't obsessed with just box score hunting. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. This is all encouraging news for the Eagles going into week 3, and I do think this offense will get it together very soon. John Riddick, passing touchdowns are too risky right now with zone defense. Another important point, man. And we could have talked about that as well. And when A.J. Brown only had 1 catch for 8 yards against the Cowboys, what were the Cowboys doing? Playing zone, but bracketing a safety over the top because they did not want to let A.J. Brown beat them. And so people, again, will look at the box score and say, Hurts is trash, he's carried, or the Eagles' offense is operating in a way where they're taking what the defense is giving them. They're playing smart football. They're possessing the ball. They're converting on money downs. They have a 100% red zone touchdown scoring percentage, and they're winning ball games. All right, last call. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat if you want to be a part of our mailbag. That's hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat to be a part of the mailbag. I also saw some super chats come in during that segment. Hashtag Eagles, send in a super chat. Get those questions in for our mailbag. Let's run it up.
Yes, sir. Shout out to, on those supers, working on getting those pulled up here in a second. We're having some issues, but Kinsu with a 20 and Dennis with a $25 super chat. Shout out to you guys for
That's
those.
awesome. Yeah, so I'll read these out because our system, for whatever reason, isn't able to pull those up at the moment. But Kinsu sent in a $20 super chat. Jalen Hurts does less to get a win while other quarterbacks do too much to get a win and lose bad. Guys get the girl you want while you do too much to get her to get friend zone. Go Birds. Kinsu, I love that, man. You know, part of the reason I love like broadcasters like Colin Cowherd, they make analogies like that. And so basically what you're saying is that Hurts sometimes can get conservative, but he's able to get wins because he plays safe football. Whereas other quarterbacks sometimes do too much, they turn it over, and it costs them. Like some guys out there. Fellas, if you're looking for a lady, sometimes you have to let it all come to you and let it come to fruition organically. Whereas if you force it, you get a little bit clingy, and you get in over your skis, and you start to be too persistent, the girl's like, whoa, this is a little bit too much for me. And you end up losing that girl like these other quarterbacks who are stat padding lose football games. Kinsu, I love it. Dennis Designs with the 25. Hey, did you see at the end of the game, Chris Jones was talking trash. Jalen said, who the F cares? We won the game. Oh my gosh, so nice to see Jalen talking smack. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is like a low-key, pretty good trash talker. From what we've heard on some hot mics and what we've seen with some mic'd up segments, Hurts is not going to shy away from talking. And yeah, in case you missed it, Chris Jones said, you didn't even have 100 yards. Well, Hurts did. And then Hurts said, we won the effing game. And he said something along the lines of, shut your ass up or relax, something along those lines. I've seen a couple of different transcribing quotes for what exactly Hurts said. All right, good stuff, man. We're up to $45 in super chats. Kinsu Dennis Designs, thank you for sending those in. We're getting very close to overtaking at least one team in the NFC East for our super chat battle here on this Wednesday, September 17th. The Commanders report $105 in super chats. We're at 55 right now. So can we overtake at least the Commanders report? Giants now 153, and then Cowboys report at 175. We have one segment to get to, so we have some time to take down those other teams inside the NFC East.
Great job on the questions, by the way, just looking right now.
Gotta love it.
Bunch of questions. Bunch of great topics as well that people are asking about. So
Awesome.
Awesome stuff. Still working on trying to get those supers up on screen, but Chase did read those out.
Yeah, if we can't pop those supers up, we read them out. Thanks to Kinsu Dennis Designs for those. Don't let it scare you away from sending in super chats. All right, let's shift gears to our mailbag. We'll start to take your questions. We'll talk some birds here on the show. This will be our final segment of the live show. 3 segments here today. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and we're glad that all of you are continuing to hang out here with us. Okay, cool. Should be able to get those super chats up after this segment. So if you get those super chats in right now, we'll be able to pop those up on the screen here momentarily. All right, Eagles Now mailbag. It's coming up right now. Let's do it. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and I always enjoy this type of segment, right? Because there's a lot to talk about going into this Week 3 matchup between the Eagles and the Rams, a rematch of the divisional round game last year at the Link, which was a pretty epic playoff game. And I always love talking Eagles with the best fans and viewers in the world. That's what we're doing here on this show because we're opening up the floor for another Philadelphia Eagles mailbag. We'll get to your questions coming up here in just a moment, but a programming reminder, don't forget to subscribe so that you too can ask your questions to me and be a part of our mailbag segments when we go live every single week on Wednesdays. But also, we go live for every single Eagles game, and we're running it back again. Eagles-Rams watch party Sunday, Week 3, right here on the program. Can't wait for it. And if you've never tuned into one of our watch parties, it is the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. Andrew Nathan brought the heat in our mailbag here today. Chase, what I want to see from the offense this week: establish the run to set up the passing game, especially with quarterback power. Get Hurts throwing on the run for some easy passes. Stay in rhythm. And let's dissect what Andrew said here. I'm never a fan of running quarterback power, quarterback draw too often because there are a lot of big bodies in between the tackle box, and obviously it can open up Jalen Hurts to getting injured, but it has been a staple play for this Eagles offense in years prior. Now, against Kansas City, you simply can't run quarterback power because the Chiefs blitzed Jalen Hurts more than 60% of the time. In fact, their blitz rate was the highest under Steve Spagnuolo since he became the Chiefs defensive coordinator in 2019. And so what the defense does always dictates some of your play calls. But if there are lighter boxes, which now is a little bit of a rarity because the Eagles have had so much success running it with Saquon, the quarterback power, quarterback draw is a great play call, especially when you spread the defense out from sideline to sideline with some 3-4 wide receiver sets. And, if you have 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, you're forced, the defense is, to really get to the outskirts of the field. And so I hear you on that. As far as getting Hurts throwing on the run for some easy passes, I'm always a fan of getting your quarterback confident and going early with some easy completions. And against Kansas City, because the Chiefs blitz so much, Hurts did get rid of it in about 2+ seconds. So he was very quick to dissect what the defense was doing, and he wanted to get the ball out on time to avoid negative plays and sacks. This is an area where Jalen Hurts has gotten a lot better over time. I mean, when he started his career, sometimes he would be that one read and run at quarterback. But now he's making quick decisions. He's very decisive. He's getting the ball out on time and in rhythm to his playmakers. He's understanding what the defense is doing, and then he's basing his decision-making off of that. But yeah, sometimes what I like to see Jalen Hurts roll to his right, throw a ball into the flat. I would like to see that because it clears up your quarterback's vision line and it's an easy throw. But again, it's also how the defense is covering Philadelphia right now. And as part of that too, the defense is covering the Eagles in a way and in the ways that they are, because at times the Eagles can be predictable. So for me, it's one of those things where multiple things can be true. Eagles play calling, play designs can be better. At times, Hurts can do a better job of throwing receivers open or giving them opportunities to make the play. Hurts also doesn't want to give the football up, which is why he doesn't throw some of those risky passes. And then also as part of that, it's also how teams are defending Philadelphia. But Andrew Nathan showing everybody that he knows ball. Kinsu, $20 here. Jalen Hurts does less to get a win, while other quarterbacks do too much to get a win, and then they lose. Guys, sometimes they try too hard to get a girl, and then they get friend-zoned. I love this analogy here because I've said this a few times on the show. Nowadays, with fantasy football, daily fantasy, gambling, social media, box score hunting, everybody becomes obsessed with quarterbacks who put up filthy numbers, especially when you see Lamar Jackson doing what he does, Patrick Mahomes, when he actually has some offensive talent and weaponry around him, do what he does. Josh Allen's stat lines are ridiculous. But what a lot of people lose sight of, there are different ways to play the quarterback position. There are different ways to operate as a quarterback. There are different ways to win. Jalen Hurts is not Josh Allen, but that's okay. Jalen Hurts can't do the things with his arm and legs that Josh Allen can do at times. Josh Allen is also 6'5". Jalen Hurts is not. And so that impacts his ability to sometimes see the field. But the Eagles as an organization have really prioritized turnover avoidance. The Eagles are 36-2 when they win the turnover battle under Nick Sirianni. That is a ridiculous record. I mean, already when you win the turnover margin, you win about 80% of the games in the NFL. The Eagles are even better than that. And so they really want to keep the ball safe. And so I like the way that Jalen Hurts plays the quarterback position. There's nothing wrong with managing the game, being smart, taking what the defense gives you. That's what Tom Brady did so much throughout his career. Bill Belichick and him didn't want Tom Brady to force the ball because they understood how turnovers can impact a game and how it flips momentum on its head throughout a ball game. And you're right, Kinsu. Quarterbacks who do too much, try to force the issue, they get the ball up. What does it lead to? Points for the opposition, a change in momentum, which can then lead to a loss. Guys out there, if you go overboard and try too hard to land a girl, and you start to get clingy and a little bit overly aggressive, girls will be like, whoa, you got to chill. I'm not ready for all that. And they'll back away. They'll put you in the friend zone, or they'll say, I'm not into you because you're being a little bit too much. Same thing for quarterbacking. Alejandro Maldonado, hopefully you got your hat, brother. We sent you that the other week, so let me know if you got it. The need at cornerback 2 is real. Would you offer a Micah-like trade, 2 first-round picks, a third and a fourth, conditional turns into a third, and Keely Ringo for Patrick Surtain? If Denver, by the trade deadline, doesn't look like a playoff team, go Birds. Fascinating trade here, and obviously that would be a huge package, and it has to be because Patrick Surtain, probably the best corner in football, if not, definitely a top 5 guy who last year won Defensive Player of the Year. I would like for the Eagles to upgrade cornerback 2. I do think it's a problem. You're set with Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, who has been really good to start the year. Cooper DeJean, awesome to start the year as well. I mean, both of those players have Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential. I think it's better to keep DeJean in the slot because you can use him as such a chess piece, which takes advantage of his versatility. But cornerback 2, yeah, it's a little bit of a problem. I will give credit where credit is due. Adoree Jackson, much better in week 2 than he was in week 1. Vic Fangio said he needed to play better. He needed to improve his technique, and Adoree Jackson did play better. But the Chiefs' receiving core, also not good. Let's see how the Eagles hold up in the secondary going up against Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, who can really hurt you all over the field. And so it's one of those things where I think Howie's going to see how this team plays and fares as we approach the deadline, and he'll measure what he might have to do. And if the Eagles need to make another trade, I am high on Jacorian Bennett. He really just played okay against Kansas City. There was a play where his tackle attempt on Patrick Mahomes in the pursuit of him wasn't great. But obviously, the big name that you mentioned there in that super chat, Alejandro, thank you for your donation, was Pat Surtain. The Denver Broncos, they're 1-1. Bo Nix, not good in week 1, better in week 2, had a bad giveaway late in that game. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And the Broncos look at themselves as a team that can win the AFC West and finally take down the Kansas City Chiefs. They just signed Surtain to that contract extension. Whether they're good or not, they're not going to be sellers to a point where they trade away Patrick Surtain. So you could try to convince them with a trade offer like that, and it's a fat trade package, but the Broncos, no way, no how, are going to trade a player like that. I think you're looking more so at players like Denzel Ward after the Browns restructured his contract. If they're bad, they might try to trade him because they're in salary cap hell because of the Deshaun Watson deal. Dennis Designs, $25 super chat. Hey, did you see at the end of the game Chris Jones talking trash with Jalen Hurts, who said we won the effing game? So nice to see Jalen Hurts talking smack. An awesome moment, and it was a pretty epic hot mic alert moment where Chris Jones was like, you didn't even have more than 100 yards. And Jalen Hurts is like, we won the effing game. Won the game. It's all that matters. Against a desperate Chiefs team that under Andy Reid hadn't gone 0-2 since 2014, a Chiefs team that under Patrick Mahomes had never lost 3 games in a row. He lost 3 games in a row, dating back to last year. You go into a tough environment against a desperate team and fan base in a very hostile environment, and you come away with that win. A lot to build on A lot to improve on, but a win is a win, and it always feels good to take down those Chiefs. Doesn't get any easier for the Eagles on this schedule. Rams coming to the Link on Sunday. Best game of the week across the NFL during the Week 3 slate. Who you got? LAR for the Rams, PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. Get those predictions in. By the time this video comes out, it's almost game time. Our sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles now, Prize Picks. We really appreciate them for making today's show possible. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. #1 fantasy sports app. You can win big up to 2,000 times your money, and it's available all across the country. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup is not perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. This is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. And right now, when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 in lineups. Use the code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's so good to be right. And we want to be right on Sunday. A.J. Brown, more than 72.5 receiving yards. Puka Nacua, more than 84.5 receiving yards. And then Patrick Mahomes, the special here, more than a half passing yard. New users, play $5. Get $50 instantly in lineups. Real money sports action made easy. Claim your $50 now. All right, Gene Holcomb, Chase, what do you think the fate of the brotherly shove is after this season, and what do you think about the offside claims? I think, unfortunately, the tombstone for the brotherly shove is going to read 2022 to 2025. I think that it is going to get banned after this year, and the couple of owners who did not vote to banish it this past offseason are going to vote to banish it now. The NFL really cares about the product and aesthetically how it looks. And the Chiefs-Eagles game shattered records as far as views go. 33.8 million viewers. Best ever regular season Sunday telecast. Most watched NFL Week 2 telecast on record. And the most watched September or October game ever. You know what the NFL doesn't want? The NFL doesn't want the talk coming out of that game being the brotherly shove. And for me, it's unfortunate. For Adam Schefter to sit there on Get Up and say this game was lost earlier this offseason when the tush push wasn't banned is absurd. The Chiefs did not lose because of the tush push. The Chiefs lost because they missed a 58-yarder. Saquon Barkley scored a touchdown. The Chiefs marching down the field, Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce, bounced off his hands, intercepted by Andrew Makuba. Eagles scored a touchdown. The Eagles made the big plays late. Jalen Hurts was better than Patrick Mahomes on third down. He was better than Mahomes against the blitz. And the Eagles made the clutch plays to determine that ball game. Now, a couple of things can be true here, right? The Eagles were offsides on a couple of occasions. But the defense was also offsides on a couple of those plays. And so Chiefs fans, I've learned, are such soft, sensitive crybabies who you can tell are not used to losing because they think they lost because of the brotherly shove. It's unfair. And get over it. You can't stop the tush push. On the first tush push attempt of the game, the Chiefs were whistled for an offsides. So don't act like it's a one-sided problem. I've always said this. I don't think the Eagles should be penalized for doing something at an elite level that is literally unique to them and them only. Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback in the NFL who can run this play consistently, efficiently, to the levels of success that he runs it at. A lot of people have said it's an ugly play. I disagree. Do people need a new pair of pants after watching a fullback dive? Do people get excited about a punt or a touchback? Do people think that a regular quarterback sneak is thrilling? Because of the controversy behind this play, I actually think it's pretty exciting. The other argument from people, it's not a football play. Jordan Mailata literally was a professional rugby player. He has said it's not a rugby play. It's not a rugby scrum. And for me, football is all about trying to come up with plays, ideas, and ways to beat an opponent. Nick Sirianni founded this play in 2022. And the Eagles have evolved this play over time. Football is all about physicality, winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. And the Eagles do that better than anybody else. So I wouldn't ban it. I love the play. It's so important to what the Eagles do. It's such a weapon for them because they're so good at it in short yardage situations. They've won games because of this play. But I do think, unfortunately, with all of the negativity around it, Dean Blandino saying, I'm done with this play, and the noise getting louder, those owners are going to ban it. Or the NFL officiating crews can just do a better job of officiating it, maybe. Lion Fighter, will we see some Tank Bigsby in week 3? Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Tank Bigsby is used as a kick returner. I will say this. The Eagles' pass blocking from running backs against Kansas City after they blitzed more than 60% of the time was awesome. Saquon Barkley and A.J. Dillon were great as far as their blitz pickups and their pass protection in front of Jalen Hurts. And so one of the concerns you have with a new back, scheme-wise, timing-wise, play-calling-wise, can a player like Tank Bigsby be ready to block like that? Now, as a kick returner, you catch the kick and you run. In an obvious running down, put the ball in his belly and see what he can do. But we'll see if the Eagles have trust in him this early. Can't wait to see him. He's a legitimate back who runs really hard. Daphne Covington, hopefully I pronounced that right. Last question here. What are your thoughts on the offensive line? I think Landon is more banged up than we know. I agree with you. And in that game, I said it live during the watch party. And then I went back and watched the tape. Landon Dickerson did not play well. And when he went up against Chris Jones, who is older but still, I'd say, the best defensive tackle in the game, Chris Jones kind of bullied him. And so I think the knee and the leg strength probably is not 100%. And then also remember that outside of that knee surgery that Dickerson got, he also hurt his back, which is huge for an offensive lineman. Leverage, being able to control these 300-plus pound bodies who are violent and physical. And so he struggled at times. On big running plays, Saquon against the Chiefs, Saquon against the Cowboys, Tyler Steen has had some awesome blocks. But at times, sometimes, I think he's a little bit soft at that right guard spot. And we've definitely seen how the Eagles have missed Mekhi Becton a bit. But I do think with how much and how often the Chiefs blitz for the most part, the Eagles held up pretty damn well with their protection up front. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, join the movement. And when you do that, you get Eagles shows every single day. And we'll catch you soon here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Enjoy your weekends. How about Nasser? Nasser. $74.99. That's AED currency. Let's see what that is. AED currency. Let's ask Grok. United Arab Emirates? All right. So how much is $74.99? That is about $20.42 in United States currency. Nasser, we appreciate you, brother. Hey, last call here. We are now up to $85.4 in Super Chats in our Super Chat battle. Can we take down the Commanders report at the very least? You see Giants now at 153. Cowboys report 175 with one $100 Super Chat. with 5 $20 super chats. We can overtake all of those teams inside the NFC East here at Chat Sports. I'm going to put on a 2-minute super chat shot clock.
On the clock.
Here we go. 2-minute super chat shot clock. Last call. It's like when you send in a super chat, it's like tipping your bartender. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate your support. So the super chat shot clock is on. Dude, your Slack is fucking hilarious.
Huh?
Your Slack week 2 is so funny, dude.
They want to get me. I'll get you right back.
Oh my gosh.
Just keep the standards.
There was nothing wrong with ours.
Well, Sam is saying that the W should be capital. That's what. It's not about the week. Sam is saying that the W should be capital, and then Trey sent that in, and then his wasn't capital, so I corrected his too.
Why should week 3 be capitalized?
I don't know. I guess that's how it's supposed to be.
Is it really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. But yeah, so I saw Trey sent that.
That's hilarious. All right. Good stuff. Some inside baseball here. 125 left on the Super Chat shot clock. You see the numbers here. You see the numbers that we're trying to take down. Eric Brown saying, hi, guys. What's up, Eric? Carol Hosey, John Galt, I guess they will have to keep the tush push. John Riddick, Rodgers and Maddox made that 4th down stop in the Super Bowl. Miss Isaiah Rodgers. Don't really miss Avonte Maddox all that much because you have Cooper DeJean in the slot, obviously. Never understood the Isaiah Rodgers and Mekhi Becton losses. We didn't need to lose them. Yeah, Eagles could have paid Becton 2 years, 20. They could have paid Rodgers, what was it, $5 to $7 million. But they're also trying to save coin in the future for like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, a couple years down the pipe, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean.
And for Becton, like that was the only healthy year of his entire career was last year.
Yes.
So he's been good this year for the Chargers.
Dennis Designs just beats the buzzer. $25 super chat. He said, for my buddies, that actually puts us over the Commanders report. That is awesome. We're up to 110.4. So $110.40 in super chats. We overtake the Commanders report. Let's go Birds. By the way, for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels has a knee injury, might not play, and is doubtful to play against the Raiders this week in week 3. And so Marcus Mariota will get the start if Jaden Daniels cannot play. So we'll give you an updated look and a final look at our Super Chat battle because we're about to sign off. At least we're not in last place.
Yes. We'll take
Plus, we've had some awesome watch parties and live shows to start the year. All right, we're going to dip on out of here. Thanks to everybody for watching, hanging out, supporting the show. You don't have to send in super chats to be your real ones. We're just glad all of you are here. For those of you who did send in super chats, like Dennis and others, thank you so much. Nasser from United Arab Emirates. I mean, how cool is that? For Chip, I'm Chase. We'll be live on Sunday. Eagles, Rams. We'll see you then. Great super chat giveaways, a pregame show, postgame show, instant reaction. And we'll see you soon. Peace.